evening that people in this community have given me. I would also thank everyone for listening, making notes, staying awake, not wishing to get out of their chairs like some kids do. But as adults, I appreciate the time that you have taken to be of interest and help to this community in dealing with something that you did not create, but work with. I'm actually going to go directly to the proposal that I have. I guess I have to leave these on because of the glare. And I'm just in between cataract surgery, which is why I'm struggling with this. And either that or I lost a plate, but I don't think so. Okay, the history of the funny biosphere, as we already know, is rich and varied, physically, culturally, and linguistically. Unlike Nova Scotia and PEI, there are programs of development that engage three cultures. The Atlantic Province's Common Education Curriculum in Nova Scotia already has a developing strong relationship with First Nations communities studying in middle schools. Dorchester facility is ideal to embrace similar programs, and this is my proposal. This proposal is based on the second initiative, which is a national one. The Canadian School Library Association, in conjunction with the Canadian Library Association, has worked together with all provinces across Canada, including the province of New Brunswick, where Kimberly Bauer and another colleague of the former library group, Library Council group, worked to develop the leading library. I better check the whole name, because this is an official document published by CLA, and it is for the establishment of leading learning school libraries. And the document sets out the standards for practice and the development of what is known as a leading school library commons. And I propose that a school library commons be established to develop the following three components in Dorchester Consolidated School. The Dorothy Nye First Nations Collection, the Sir Pierre Landry Collection, English Settler Collection. The tricultural character of these communities has a lot to offer each other, and you can see that this evening all three of those cultures are already working together from 1600 to be where we are today. The development of the New Brunswick Bilingual Literacy Strategy under the guidance of Maryland Trenton Council and Marie Coglaise is critical. It's crucial, as it is the foundation in which the province of New Brunswick will build a sustainable future in thinking, learning, acting together. Think of relevant research topics that will engage children and adults in these communities to create an ever-evolving, genuine community learning commons, leading learning through the 21st century. Learners have a right to expect good school libraries in every school in Canada. Our school libraries should reflect our common values of equality, diversity, and cultural identity, as well as the best approaches in education and library professions. The development of a bilingual strategy will take us, hopefully, into a better place in Canadian education, a place that has been missing in New Brunswick for a long time. I have with me copies for the deck of the Leading Learning document. It is available online for anyone that wishes to read it. It sets out the goals of the plan, and it sets out a strategy for achieving the development. A Leading Learning Commons will utilize evolving digital technologies, and we know this happens. What we teach kids today, someone else will be learning tomorrow. In today's world, some of the basics for a library commons obviously would be internet access in this school, and that would be a cost. I'm spending your money. Everybody else here has been trying to save it, and I'm saying perhaps we need to spend some instead. Now, the really classy Learning Commons across Canada, and I just went through the websites and listed some of them, so Muriel, please don't faint. They have, in addition to Wi-Fi internet, digital cameras, smart boards, keyboards for creating and saving musical compositions, recording studios for music and storytelling, digital color printers for student art, digital sound and light systems for theatrical performances, digital scoreboard for the museum. Oh, and Antigonish Public Library is the first library in our area in which every public library has 3D printers. So I put that on my wish list. We could have a culinary nutrition lab here to encourage health and physical fitness. These are only a few ideas to incorporate technology beyond the classroom and the community. And in view of the late night, I'm hoping that when I give you your copy of the documents, honorable deck members, that you will take the time to read this, because I do think the combination of the participation of members of the Department of Education in the development of Leading Learning Library Commons and of this literacy strategy underway, that it may give us a sense of a new and third choice that we can make. I would also like to thank the Nye family, and I have developed a closer relationship, very close in fact. I'm a bit of a fashionista, you know, old age things, different periods of time, and I went to visit Jean Nye, whose family I have just mentioned. And just to let you know, I am walking in Jean's shoes this evening. They are her witchy shoes. Some suggestions I have. There are all kinds of exciting things like, you know, is Shepley Mountain an extinct volcano, and do they ever become unextinct? When was the last time you hooked a shark when you went fishing? And what a whale of a day we had when the whale landed in Slacks Cove. Who would ever thought you'd find one in Shepherdie Bay? There are all kinds of science and education things right around us which the school is already practicing. Research questions for the broader community, because the Library Commons involves adults as well as children in intergenerational, multilingual experience, multicultural experiences. In what way, for example, has human habitation changed the environment of the funny biosphere? That would also give us a link to, okay, what's the school? Riverside, Albert? Yes, okay. All the nice techie toys would give us the ability to work together within the biosphere. Asking questions, seeking answers. Village of Dorchester and Village of Memramcook are currently involved in creating green planning for a sustainable future, not just for Dorchester and Memramcook, but our stewardship within the larger community. Leading Learning Library Commons. And And so, let's put this on your plate, ladies and gentlemen. Let's put Dorchester School Library Commons in the race for the top instead of the bottom. And let it be the first pilot study for such a program. I'm speaking from, as I mentioned, a long time career in education, and I am definitely a lifelong learner. Are you 50 yet? Some of you? No? Okay. Well, I'll leave this with you. When I was 50, I gave up my teaching career at my cost because I did not get a sabbatical. But I thought it was so important that I took an entire year, well actually 2, and went to the University of British Columbia to attain a professional Master of Library and Information Studies. So I have looked at these issues, and I can assure you they are important. And I put my money, my year's salary, living on a student loan from a very nice bank, paying it all back. It was a year without funds going into my pension plan. I paid back. So I challenge each of you on this deck, this District Education Council, to really think about how important the development of public school libraries could become in this province. Thank you very much, and good night. Have a safe drive home.
I won't talk about stats because honestly it gets boring after a while. Dorchester is more than numbers. We are a family. And what I don't get is that you'll take the kids, my family, out of a safe environment where they want to learn and have fun, and put them into an unsafe environment where they get bullied and don't like school. You want kids to be safe and have a fun time learning, but how can they have fun if you take them away from that environment? What about the kids that move here so they don't get bullied? Are you going to send them back there just to get bullied again?
Let's just talk about the Dorchester family. In this school, there's no bullying. We all help each other. We're all crazy. We accept each other's flaws. And if somebody hurts one of our students, we'll make sure that person doesn't do it again. When a certain teacher got sick, we all cared. We cheered her on the whole time she was out. When she went for checkups and she came back and said they were clear, we cheered on for her. This school is a family. We can't tear it apart. We can try hardest to break us apart, but we'll go down fighting.
The education here is amazing. And the best part was all the fun things we do here. We have choir, new games, where they have girls team one week, and then the next is boys team. After that week, we do open gym, where they put up the nets and play badminton. Anyone can come into the gym and play. We put on plays twice a year. One is the Christmas play, and the next is a play made up by our very own Miss Milner. The science girls come up and teach us some science. Cross country and track and field we do too.
Math students come down and teach us about their culture. They write our names in Japanese, and sometimes they teach us some words too. One time we brought down some komodos, and she forgot to try one on. It was hard, but it was fun. We have breakfast club in the morning. It used to be just certain days, but now it's every day. Chess club is for grades 3 to 8. They go on to play up championships. When Mr. Kaufman was retiring, we had on a big flash on right here in this room.
We shouldn't close down that school.
They want to learn here and they have fun doing it.
So what if we don't have a lot of kids?
They're not numbers.
And you can't always measure everything on bar graphs.
We stand for the school.
And we choose rural.
This is a song I wrote in a couple of days. I actually had some help from my friends. It's called Don't Mess with PCS. If the heart's so strong, they all meet as one. Just picture other home. That's where we all come from. And we couldn't imagine it any other way. So won't you let PCS stay for another day? Or maybe a decade? We're like a big family, it'll be hard. Put us in different schools, tear us apart. We don't want this to be the end. So if you think you're taking us down, good luck, my friend. Don't mess with PCS. This school is not like the rest. So if it's not, like a big family, it'll be hard. Put us in different schools, tear us apart. We don't want this to be the end. So if you think you're taking us down, good luck, my friend. We're just speaking our minds. And if in the end we fail, at least we're gonna say that we tried.
That's great, yeah. Good evening, everyone. My name is Paula True. I am the mother of a 12-year-old daughter in grade 6 at this school. And like all parents and supporters here, I reject this process. My daughter has been attending Dorchester Consolidated School since I transferred her here in January of 2015. Because we live out of bounds, I drive her here, I pick her up every day, like some other parents do. As you're aware, not all children who attend public school are neurologically typical. Many fall outside the typical norm, those with learning disabilities, ADHD, various syndromes, those affected with autism, nonverbal learning disabilities, gifted or twice exceptional, the highly sensitive child, all those children are considered to be at risk. You wouldn't know it by just meeting my daughter, but she falls into that category. And for this reason, my short presentation will address these topics: safety and mental health, and the quality of education. From September 2013 to December 2014, my daughter attended a large District 2 middle school in an urban area with a class of 28 kids. It took 6 months before my daughter's mental health deteriorated to the point where academics became last on the list of priorities. How did this happen, you're wondering? Relational aggression and exclusion, that covert style of bullying, very prevalent at the middle school level, especially among girls. It is near impossible to prove, let alone eliminate in larger school. Most often, it goes unnoticed or is ignored by staff. Children are often expected to toughen up to it. Some are capable of this, but it's not that simple for the child at risk. It chips away at their security and their self-esteem until eventually there's nothing left. In the spring of 2014, my daughter experienced panic attacks, anxiety disorder, clinical depression, and school phobia to the point where she was absent for well over a consecutive month and spent 1 week in hospital during that time. When she did finally return to school, part-time at first, administration was supportive. They said, don't worry about academics. Her mental health is number one. So that became our prime focus for the following year, mental health. What about academics? Way gone to the back burner. Yeah. You know, summer came and some good improvement was noted. But back in the fall again, that negative pattern started right up again. Mental health management, still the prime focus. By this time we exhausted the resources of that school. So fast forward to December of 2014, school phobia and panic attacks back again, and she missed 2 consecutive weeks of school. The school administration was attentive and they worked hard for us, but with very little response. So at this point I felt enough was enough. I thought, let's try something different. Let's look at her environment, let's change that. So I remembered someone had told me about Dorchester Consolidated School. So I decided that my daughter and I would drive over there and pay them a visit. I will never forget that day. The only way I can think to describe it, it was as if the sun finally came up. This was a very different climate from where we had come from. You often get a lasting first impression when you walk into a place, and it was that way for us. Just walking into the building for the first time, my daughter and I both knew that this was a very special place. It was the feeling you got, one of being included and cared for, and one of being safe. Just by chance, the kids were on stage practicing for their musical Christmas play during our visit. So we decided to come back that evening to watch it, and it was pretty amazing. Yeah. From day one, my daughter felt relaxed and included at Dorchester School. Coming from a class of 28 at our old school, a class of 15 at Dorchester was much less chaotic. No longer an overload on her sensory system. The headache she'd been experiencing at the larger school disappeared. She was no longer exhausted at the end of the day. Her stomach aches and her panic attacks, gone. The children at Dorchester School are really taught how to include, respect, and support one another. This school has a reputation for being the model of inclusion. And let me tell you, they live up to that reputation. True inclusion can't exist without a certain climate being set for the kids, and this school has been successful in setting that climate. There's a large enough ratio of adults to kids so that no form of bullying can be hidden here. It is eliminated from the small school culture, extinguished before it can take root. At lunchtime, there's always a place for my daughter to sit. She no longer has to hear, "Don't even think about sitting here," every day. Before gym class, she can change her clothes without having to hear negative comments made about her body. She can walk through the hallways and be greeted with friendly smiles instead of derogatory names. She can feel carefree, and she can play in the snow with her peers for the very first time without experiencing relational aggression, exclusion, and being treated negatively for various cliques. Finally, she feels a sense of belonging and acceptance. She feels valued. It's never a struggle for her to want to go to school in the mornings, because every day at Dorchester School is a good day. What a feeling to drop my daughter off in the morning and know that she is not only safe for the first time in a very long time, but she is thriving and she's cared for. She has been at Dorchester Consolidated School for a little over 3 months, but in that short time, she has progressed further than in the 14 months spent at her old school. So recapping the reasons why my daughter is doing better at Dorchester Consolidated School, she is safe. According to school policy, it is the child's perception of being safe that counts. If she doesn't feel safe, then she is not safe. So imagine this, now that mental health is no longer a prime focus, we're actually able to focus on academics. This is what's really ironic. The government is pouring money into mental health supports for the bigger schools, for problems they have created themselves by creating school environments with more kids and fewer teachers. My daughter's experience is the perfect example of this, as well as the proof. For mental health issues, the smaller school is both the prevention and the cure. We need the community to create the climate, quality of education. In just a little over 3 months, the teachers at Dorchester School have been able to get to know my daughter's needs better because they are not overwhelmed with so many students. They can give the child at risk the attention she needs and deserves. At Dorchester School, my daughter is not falling through the cracks like she was in the bigger classroom. I speak from experience because before coming to Dorchester School, the bigger class in the bigger school was all we knew. At Dorchester School, mental health issues are no longer a barrier to learning. My daughter was able to begin the process of catching up all that she missed in the time spent at the larger school. She began that process right away, almost from day one. Well, where's my graphic? That's it. This graphic speaks for itself. There's 2 identical personal learning plans, PLPs, for each school. As you can clearly see, the feedback is different. The comments are different. The plan on the left from the large District 2 school with a class of 28 kids, many in that class with some kind of a special need, and teachers who are just overwhelmed. After 1.5 years spent there, all we see is a short comment for one teacher. The plan on the right, Dorchester School with a class of 15, where all her teachers came together to comment on how accommodations were used in every subject, or not used, and maybe not necessary in some and necessary in others, and what progress was made. And this is only in 3 short months. Okay? It's a year and a half on one side and 3 months on the other. So I think it's pretty clear which school for my daughter has been better able to know her and to meet her needs in the best way possible. So someone recently said, you don't know what good food is until you've actually eaten it. Before my daughter's transfer to Dorchester Consolidated School, my daughter was starving. But now she's finally eating good food and she is thriving. If the doors to Dorchester School open in September, I will gladly continue to drive my child here out of bounds. And I know for certain there are many other parents out there who would do the same if they were made aware that a school like this exists for them as an alternative. If my daughter could be just given 2 more years at this school, at the rate she's progressing, I'm confident that she's going to be in great shape to enter high school. If, on the other hand, the school closes, you know, and she has to go back from where I took her from, it's going to be a giant step backward for her and for other families, you know, with children at risk. So I hope you'll think about all this and, you know, reconsider the process. Thank you for listening.
On behalf of the District Education Council, I want to thank all our presenters tonight and certainly give the District Education Council a lot to think about. She should be proud of that. It's been a great evening of information sharing and enlightenment for all of us. So thank you very much. It's late, so I hope everyone has a safe drive home. Thank you very much.